So we'll go for the next slide, and this has also been a soaring crisis that has been happening, and it's an alarm rise over the years that the predatory publishers are increasing and predatory journals are been also increasing. So the predatory publishers are making money that in the year 2014 they earn on they earn US dollar 74 million and published 0.5 million articles. So you can also see in 2017 the hijacked journals. That means the name everything will be the same as the original journal. Like you take an elsewhere, electric power system research is there. Same thing it will be also be there. That is called as what hijacked journals. They only hijack those particular things, putting such kind of a logos, brands, and everything just to deviate all the others and to get money. So this is how the statistics are there for the predatory journals, and then the academicians pursue research only for the employability and not for accountability. And that means now at present we can have the journals in the database like a Scopus and Web of Science, not Web of Science and Scopus. So in such a case, what will happen here is once that journal is in the list of a fraud or suspected frauds, then obviously all the articles will be retraced. That means they are all been kept such that they are not should not be used basically for their data or for their conclusions or maybe a mathematical models. So publishing those particular things only for a time being, and afterwards their removal will also de-account our profile, and also under our particular name we have many retraced articles in the database. So which is also been not useful when we submit any paper to any reputed journal. Obviously our profile will go to that, and also about the things that what have been articles which have been retraced also will go to them. So initially if we can avoid such kind of a things, then it's a good sign that the scientific community will have a very qualitative journals, not the quantity journals. So this is how you can see the growth in the journals over up to 2011, that it happened to be increasing almost 10 times the plagiarism wise or maybe duplicate of the publications or frauds that you can see, like they happen to be increasing 10 times. And out of these articles that have been produced, the number of authors are increasing, the number of articles are also been getting increased. You can see here the number of articles that are being retraced, that is in the below B graph. You can see that's the average of those particular things, that the increasing hyperbola. You can see like the number of predatory journals are also getting increased. So this is what you can identify using the predatory journals by using a Beale's list of predatory journals. You can go to that particular link. All the hijacked publishers, journals, the different predatory journals, their predatory publishers, every information is available in that. Direct you can type those particular journal name and ISSN number. Some doesn't also have ISSN number, but you can see a list which appears in which all the predatory journals will be available in that. But before actually identifying them and going inside that, I feel that it is better that to see what is good and then publish in that good is more important, rather than doing some work and identifying predatory journals and again coming back is not a obvious question. But why I am telling all these things, particular things here, is once if you don't understand the research process, once if you are not publishing the good things and you are in this, every time you have to go into those particular things, the account and the accountability is also becoming a big problem. So in order for you to sensitize, like the predatory journals happen to be making a hindrance for the scientific community. So that is what I mean to say. Only you take into two things which I'm going to tell in future, and based upon those particular things, you can write your articles to those relevant journals. So this is what we have seen about the predatory journals. And now why indexing phenomenon is required. Why? Because indexing of a journal is considered as a reflection of its quality. So indexing journals are considered to be a higher scientific quality as compared to the non-indexed journals. So we have already known about many indexing sources, but these two indexing sources happen to be the most qualitative thing. That is happened to be from Thomson Reuters Science Citation Index and Science Citation Index Expanded, and from the elsewhere product, that is a Scopus, and the articles in this happen to be having a high quality. So other things are also been coming up like an emerging source science citation index. But what I feel here is that if both an article is present in Scopus and ESCA, it shows that it has been more qualitative than an ordinary Scopus article. So that is how we have to go into account. So further, this is how you can see indexing surveys. like the Web of Science, which stands in the highest in terms of the quality, and next will be the elsewhere, and next will be the directory of open access journals and Google Scholar. So this is how the qualitative will be coming, and all SCI, SCIE journals will be coming in Web of Science, and Scopus will be coming with product of elsewhere, that is Scopus, and then all other articles will be indexed, that is in DOAG and as well as the Google Scholar. But coming from the coverage, the Web of Science happened to be the lowest. That means the number of good journals happen to be very low. And next will be the Scopus. Next is the Google Scholar, in which all the articles will be kept. So that is why it has been a wider database. Now, the point of interest here is why indexed journals are required here is that well-written papers which have been indexed in Web of Science or SCA, they will be read, they will be remembered, and they will be cited. So this is also been important here is that as citations are important in order to get an impact factor, and how our research is useful to the scientific community or for the world is more important. And for that also the number of citations should be more. So our work should be newest such that it will be useful for many people in future in order to carry out more scientific advancements. So that's what the citation should get increased. And if they read that paper from good sources, then obviously they are going to cite those particular things and they are going to remember, and they will be remembered. And now poorly written papers are not been read, they are not remembered, and they are been not cited. So this is what the comparison already we have seen, like Google Scholar accounts for more number of articles, and then will be the Scopus, and then will be the Google Scholar. So this is how the onion graph shows, like the Scopus has a more database than the Web of Science. And later also we will see that the Scopus and Web of Science can be used basically to do a literature survey, where earlier days there used to be different uh, publishers in order to get the articles. Like we want to do a literature survey, we used to go for IEEE advanced search, or we used to go for a Web of Science, or we used to go for elsewhere. But you can see, like, as all these articles are getting indexed in this the database, that is Scopus. So first we will see how to find whether it is a good journal. That is like in finding a journal in Clarovatics Analytics, and formally it is known as a Web of Science, and they have been indexing all these SCI, SCIE and ESCI journals. So you can see in my screen here that there is a master journal list. You can go to this particular website, that is mgl.clarovite.com, and after typing that you can see the master journal here. There is a search bar that is been coming up, and here search type is also been coming up. We can do with the help of the journal article name or title of the article, or by using ISSN also you can give it. So once if you type here the name of the journal, and then if you go, this is how the search things will come up, like computer methods. That after searching, that means I have typed there computer methods and programs in biomedicine, or I would have typed the ISSN. So obviously it has given these results like this, and you can see the coverage here, which shows like it happened to be a science citation index or SCIE expanded, or current contents like that. It's going to give you the what are the indexing things that are being available here. So similarly, you can also go for the Scopus. You can type scopus.com, and then you can go here, and then you can click here on the right hand side sources, and this is how the search options will come up. So you can type your search here, that is the name of the journal you can type here, or you can type the ISSN number, or you can type the publisher, and if you hit it, then obviously you're going to get a screen here. That means I would have searched like International Journal of Pure and Applied Mathematics. So if you have journal searched like International Journal of Pure and Applied Mathematics, so I would be getting in this particular way, and this I will click on International Journal of Pure and Applied Mathematics. I'm going to get a contents like this. So in which you can see here clearly that the Scopus coverage years are only from 2009 to 2017. So that means if this year happened to be 2020 and this journal is not been indexed in the Scopus. So this is how also we can check whether a journal is been right now indexed in Scopus or it is in Web of Science, by using the two search options that I have shown right now. Now you are assessing the best journal for your article. Select a journal relevant to the work done is being more important. So for that also, our Web of Science and Scopus is also giving some new search results in which it is going to give you the correct journal that you can publish that. So, and we also have to keep in mind about the indexing. Just now we have seen about that, and the journal which has got Web of Science has got some impact factor or not. And every journal, many journals have been putting impact factor, but journal citation reports published by Web of Science is the only an important factor. So every time, whenever we want to see impact factor, we have to go to Web of Science and see the journal citation reports, and then only we have to finally admit that impact factor. So the finally, I mean to say, like, the success depends upon only the quality of the research work that you have done. That means how your problem happened to be an innovative, how it has been outstanding, what exactly is the design of the study. That is, it happened to be a generalized design so that it will be useful at any time, and the size of the study that you are going to make. That is basically the analysis part. So these are the various websites that have been available, maybe the free as well as a commercial, and free can solve your problems. Like these are the journal finders in which if you can give your title and your abstract and maybe a keywords, they can give you what are the journals that have been relevant to your research work that you have done. So for that, elsewhere has got journal finder, Springer, journal guides, and EndNote manuscript matcher is there, and commercially also available, but the elsewhere Springer, these things are been sufficient for our research work. So coming for this particular thing, instead of finding, you can directly download that what are the SCI sources, that SCI journals that are available, SCIE journals available, and ESCI journals. So you can just click on the right hand side. That is, you can see that after you click mgl.clarovite.com, you can see downloads here. If you click on the downloads, you will have the list all coming down here, which shows like you can just download by using this arrow button. You can download all SCIE journals. Here you can download social sciences. Similarly, here you can download all emerging citation index journals. So from the journals also you can use your search options in order to see that the relevant journal is being present. So coming for the journal finder, this is from Web of Science, in which if you just click on here, select manuscript or manuscript matcher, it is a display will be coming like this, in which you can give the title, abstract, and then you can just type here find journals. So it is going to give you in this particular way. Suppose if you have a journal that is coming up like this, we are going to get a list of journals in which has been matching our particular title and abstract, and if possible keywords. So the first journal happened to be energies, for which the search option I have given, it shows like it happened to be a coverage from SCA index expanded, and then the match score happened to be, that means for the keywords that I have given, the match score happened to be 0.49. So in which the electric field stress is 0.9, and transform efficient electric power happened to be 0.9, and uniform electric stress happened to be 0.89. So this is a list of journals that will come here. The Energies is one journal in which the match score is high. Next, International Journal of Advanced Manufacturing Technology is there, which shows like the match score happened to be 0.46. And this is how our keywords are getting matched to our relevant work that we have done. So as this happened to be 0.72, if our work is upon electric field stress, we can go for the International Journal of Advanced Manufacturing Technology. So this is how the Scopus, that is a product of Web of Science or Clarovitics Analytics, but this is from Scopus. So Scopus also you can type the Scopus Journal Finder or elsewhere Journal Finder, and this is how the link will come. The same options that you can give here, the title as well as the keywords and abstract. This is how the Web of Science, the Scopus has been giving it. So you can see here with the search options that I given, it has selected many journals. So in which, suppose we take one journal like an ICT Express, you can see here the site score happened to be 2.6, impact factor is not there, acceptance ratio is 13%, and time to first edition, that means the paper which we have submitted, and the after revising, after giving the review comments, the first review comments you are going to get within 7 weeks, that is preferably 1.5 months, and next one will be the time to publication, from the time to the article that is available with volume, issue, page numbers is 48 weeks. So this is how also we can use that, and many options are been available on the right hand side, which shows that you can select a journal based upon its acceptance rate. You can also select a journal based upon the time to the first decision, and as well as we can also see time to the publication. Why? Because for all PhD students, the volume issue page numbers should also come, that it shows that it's a complete publication before submitting the thesis. So that is what all these things are being useful for doing our research effectively. So that's what I was been telling about the impact factor, which indicates the quality of a journal. So if a journal has produced, suppose in the year 2010, I want to calculate impact factor, that journal would have been published in 2008 and 9, so number of items. So suppose they have produced in 2008 50 articles, 2009 50. So totally articles in these 2 years happen to be 100. And then out of the 100 papers, the 100 papers will have some citations to be coming up over this 2 year span, and to not 2 year span in the upcoming in the year at which the impact factor is to be determined. So if the citations happen to be 50 out of these 100 papers that have been published, so 50 by 100 will give you 0.2. So it shows that the impact factor is 0.2. So that means, which indicates that the 50% of the journal papers that produced by the journal will only be useful to the society. So that's what, as the impact factor is more, it shows that the research papers that the journal is producing will be useful to many of the people, and they have been using effectively for carrying out their work. So that's a point that we all have to keep in mind about the impact factor. But this is a term that is being accounted, but it has got its own drawbacks. That means we see many journals like Institution of Engineers, from Institution of the engineers from different sections, series also. But what typically happens is we don't use that. We use it only from IEEE or elsewhere. That is how the process is taking place due to the availability and all those things. So as the journals happen to be good, as we are not using it and we are not citing it, definitely it decreases the impact factor. And if we account only that the impact factor is only governing the quality, the other debate should also get started. So that's why what I mean to say here is impact factor is also been important, but this is not only a figure of merit to tell that that happened to be a good journal or not. So I have my own views in order to tell you, like, that means I look in this particular aspect that what happened to be a good journal. That is a good journal that has been produced from a reputed publisher like an IEEE, Elsewhere, Springer, Taylor and Francis John. These are all the reputed publishers in which they have been publishing the articles. We can account like by seeing a publisher that they happen to be one of the good journals. And none of the journals should have article processing charges. Like not only this, but also open access thing is also not been encourageable. Why? Because open access journals are also accountable to a larger amounts, which shows like as the author is going to pay, that the journal also may think that in order to get the articles to get accepted and not peer reviewed. So that is why there should not be at all article processing charges and open access charges. So next thing here is it should be indexed in good database like a Web of Science or Scopus, and standard ISSN number or DOI numbers, and having good online presence, that is having minimum 10 volumes. That means either the journal has got at least 10 years of existence. So these are my way of actually looking into the things of research paper. But there are many ways at which these days people happen to be accounting, like maybe a H index, which happen to be a controllable thing, that which we can control our own H index. So by putting our own self citations and controlling that. So I don't think that that is a figure of merit as well as H index or this particular thing. My way of looking happened to be in this particular way. So this is how the sequence that we have to go for writing a research paper. We'll come back to this one after seeing what exactly is anatomy of research paper. So just now we have seen that we have thought like we should be not going into the other side like predatory journals and think about only a good journals. Why? Because good journals will make us to understand the research process and as well as give merit which is useful for the future, and they will be standard then, and they will be available more throughout of our life. It's not like the articles happen to be retraced. So that's what we have to think, whether which journals we have to go. And then now we have seen that how we have to search those particular things which happen to be a right thing. That's what we have seen using Web of Science, Journal Finder, using Scopus. So and now the point here is, as they happen to be good, now what is being required for them in order to see that they happen to be publishable. So for that, we have to keep into this particular hourglass model, which shows like you can see here, this happened to be a down triangle and this happened to be the up triangle. So this is how we will go like that, and these are 1 to 3 steps that are been available. You can see in the down triangle, and in the up triangle you can see the 5, 6, 7 and 4 happen to be our objective. That is really what we want to do it. So that means we while going for a movie, it is also in order to go that we will be understanding that, or we get motivated that why should we go for a movie. But once if we get motivated that we should go for a movie, we are going to do a literature like what are the movies that have been available in our city. And then based upon those particular things, we are going to see which we are going to identify the gaps in that. How much time the comedy is there, how much time the fighting is there. So based upon those particular things, we are going to see match our particular interest, and then finally we are going to go select a particular movie. So similarly here also, we will in the down triangle that we all have to keep in mind here is this actually indicates the process at which we are going to get a problem. So the number 4 will indicate what exactly is the aim of your work. This indicates the aim of your work. For aim of your work, you should first do 1 to 3 steps. The first step indicates like in a broader sense, what exactly is the understanding or your understanding about the problem. So what I mean to say here is instead of understanding those particular things, you should finally get some percentage and sensitize yourself. Why? Because research is a process that goes till our lifetime. If we are happen to be a lifelong learners, so we have to motivate till our lifelong. So in such a case, what typically happens here is we should get some percentage of how much the problem is to be justified. So like I mean to say like I have some hand pain, I have leg pain and as well as a head pain. But if my hand pain is only for a minute and leg pain is only for 2 minutes and my head pain is for 10 hours, so obviously I have to tackle about a problem of headache that happened to be for 10 hours. So we should get motivated with the problem in which that happened to be the in the present scenario happened to be the most important for us. Yeah, that is what we have to keep in mind. So that means you have to see like at present days due to the COVID that we are now suffering, we don't have a vaccine, and that happened to be the highest problem that is been required in the world. So as we go upon, that means in the broader sense, what exactly is the need? So that you can remember in forms of percentage. Like there is no vaccine in which the vaccine required for COVID happened to be the 100%. Like India in 2012, 50% of the population doesn't have any power. So in India, electric all drives motors and they are all getting failed due to the bearings. That is happened to be 75%. And many students, due to this online education, 25% of the students are not able to have a connectivity with the internet. So we all should get motivated in order to carry out our research work in terms of some percentage or the rate that we influence. That means my hand pain may be only for 1%, 1 minute. That may be in terms of percentage, maybe 1%, or in terms of leg, it may be 2%, and headache may be 80%. So 80% problem should be handled first. So we should get motivated in a broader sense about the topic. That is more fundamental thing that we have to keep in mind before starting our research and also for writing our research paper. In the introduction section, your first paragraph should clearly indicate what exactly is the need or purpose of doing this particular research. So that's what we have to keep in mind in the present scenario or nowadays or today's problem should be clearly reflected in the introduction first paragraph that we have to keep in mind, and that too that in a broader sense. Next, the second thing that we all have to keep in mind here is that about the gap that we want to fill that. So there are many gaps that will be there. That means earlier days there used to be 3 tablets may be given for hand pain, leg pain and headache pain. But nowadays you can see that with only 1 tablet the problem has been eradicated. So that gap has been filled by not using that many number of tablets. So similar here also, what is the gap that we want to fill? We have to understand means we have to do the literature survey. So doing this literature survey, that means there are many sources at which we can do literature survey, and these days it is also becoming very easy. Why? Because earlier we used to, as I was been telling earlier, there used to be separate databases. Like IEEE has got its own database, elsewhere has got its own database. But now if you can see Scoopus, it is a database which is accounting both the IEEE as well as elsewhere articles, Springer, Journal. So it has been a comprehensive database in which all the articles are getting indexed there. So our literature survey will become more easy if you go into that Scoopus and then do that literature survey, and that I will show it later, and it's the easiest way to do that. So first we should do literature survey. While doing literature survey or while writing a literature survey, we should keep in mind here is that 40% of our work should be from last 2 years. So we should write about the articles or literature about which happen to be the newest and which happen to be closest to our particular work is more important. So the articles which are relevant is more important, and next thing here is which happen to be the article which happen to be the most very closest to our particular work is also been important to us. So we start with that particular paper and then we go for the articles in which are been relating to our particular work. So that's what the literature survey should be written as a second paragraph of introduction, which shows like this is what the people have done and this is what they have got the own drawbacks. So like in 1960, in 2000 year, one would have discovered a tablet which can solve only one problem at a time. And in 2010, one can solve a problem that two problems can be solved. Like maybe I take a tablet, my hand pain and leg pain we can get wiped off. So similarly, in 2020, someone would have discovered a tablet in which it has got all the three things can be just removed by using the tablet. So this is how we fill the gap. So to fill the gap, we should know that what are the gaps are that are been available in the literature. So that should be written very clearly here. I will also show about that how they should be written as a gap in the introduction section in which it happened to be missing in many of the articles that I see there. So now coming for the third thing, identifying all such kind of a gaps and is really that is required is also been a point of question that we have to keep in mind, and listing all the particular gaps and how we should fill that particular gap is more important. So that is what we have to keep in mind in a point number 3, how and why should we fill this particular gap. So for that, what typically happens here is this is how the point 4 will indicate that this is my aim in order to fill all the gaps that is available in the literature, which happen to be the high priority these days. So that is how our objective should be at point number 4, that is at the tip that you can see here below this particular lower triangle. And now if I want to do this, what could be the solution? So we have to start with a solution with down methods. Like suppose if I say head pain, you can some suggest me some Saridon tablet. So this is how we can suggest tablet, but it differs from different people. So one may fill with Saridon, one may also take nice, which you shows like you can solve the problem. That means it is only a hypothesis that we are doing, or it may be a solution that can be possible. So for the solution to be given, we should also see like how successful that is in the earlier, or if can we articulate that or can we generalize that is a point of question. So that is what we have to keep in mind here is how we should choose our particular method or how we should give a solution for the problem that we have described in step number 4. Now, if this happened to be the solution, how are we doing the analysis? Analysis, they are done in a broader sense in which the scope of the problem is very high. Then that means different. That means you happen to see like now the corona is there. If people has got already diseases and we have got diseases with this corona, the impact is different. And we also seen like the temperature conditions are also playing a vital role, that how it is. So these are all different types of analysis that we have to do it there. So how broader way that we do the analysis is way more important in order to see that this problem or the methodology or the solution happen to be the best fit for this particular problem that we are being taking up. So this is what we have to keep in mind at stage number 6, which shows like how our after doing the analysis, how it is being useful to them. So now coming for the step 7, which shows happen to be the conclusion. That means whatever the results that we have got by doing an analysis with that in step number 6, in step number 7, we are going to conclude that in a generalized manner. That means Newton has given many laws, like for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. That's true. And when we take many examples with that, that statement will hold good. So whatever that we do an analysis in the step number 6, if we can generalize that and tell in conclusion section like this is how it is been there, the generalization, and then it shows like with these particular things you can go for the future and you can also work on those particular things, and in the practical point of view this is how it is being useful. So that should be written in step number 7. So your strength lies actually right from 1 to 7, but this is the thing that is actually reflecting your things like 5 to 6, 7, that how methods, how you are being articulating that, how you are been designing for your own yourself, and then how you have been doing an analysis, and how your research results are they have been valuable, how they are been validated, and how they are been useful to the community. So that is very much important in step number 7. So this is how 1 to 7 steps we have to go. This is happened to be the down triangle and up triangle model that we have to go. And then this happened to be in a highest, well, you can see here that it happened to be in a broader way, which shows like we have to start with a broader statement of our particular research, and then see that we come down to a very clear thing that this is how the problem is being required, and this is a problem in the present scenario. This is how we should be very clear about those particular things. So further, we should do a very good literature survey and fill the correct identification of the gaps is more important. Filling all those gaps by creating a problem statement or problem formulation at step number 4 is very vital. Creating a good problem will make the scientific process also very good, and as well as the journals also try to accept those particular things. And then this shows your accountability, that how you have designed the solutions as an engineer or as a scientist, and then how you have made those things to be useful to the community. So the steps should be very clear: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll go stepwise procedure and what really things that are required in those particular sections. Okay. So coming for the title is a concise identification of the main topic of the paper. So that means by seeing the title directly, we should be identifying what is the work that is been happening here. So this is what we have to keep in mind about the title. And then the title should be very concisive, descriptive, and informative. And while writing scientific paper, don't write the title happen to be a question, or do not use much abbreviation. Some abbreviations that you can use like IEEE and all, which is known to the whole world, but the number of abbreviations should be as less as possible in the title. And your title should clearly indicate what exactly is the contribution. Suppose I have designed a PA controller. In the title, definitely there should be a PA controller to be coming up. And for PA control, what you have done the design or development or practical implementation. That should also clearly come in the title. So your title should reflect not only the work that you have done, but it should clearly indicate the contribution that you have made those particular things. Right. And coming for the abstract is nothing but the aim of our particular paper, really what we want to do it. So it is a brief summary of the principal findings of the paper. It's a preview of a paper and standalone or self-contained document that can be read independent of the paper. And we also happen to see like we read many abstracts, and based upon our interest and how it has been relevant to us, based upon that we are going to download the articles, and some we do it with the abstract and some we also do with the title. That also we will see in detail that how it is been progressing there. But what I suggest here is that the abstract should be written very carefully. That's what which will also drive you to do a good research. And what are the sections? That means that also indicates what is your clear idea about the topic and clear understanding about the topic. So abstract should be written very careful, which indicates the aim. And then we will also see that what are the different types of abstracts that are available and how to write them effectively. And that means that's what I could see. Like I happen to be the peer reviewer in Publons, and I happen to see that much of the things are not getting many good papers are not having many good papers has got good abstract, but many papers which doesn't have good abstracts are not getting accepted. So that means he doesn't have any interest to go forward to see like about the contents of the paper. So the abstract should be written very carefully here. And now while writing the abstract, you can see here the number of downloads that has been taken place. And you can see like in 2019-10 quarter, you can see that the number of downloads of the papers when their abstracts are seen is very much high. So that is how a good abstract is to be written. And if it is good, then we can have the paper to get downloaded, and then good citations also we are going to get. So two things that are interest here: structured abstract, other one is a graphical abstract. Structured abstract, these days some of the journals that they are asking to directly submit a structured abstract, and it is better that if you feel difficulty in writing an abstract, you can put all these points on the left hand side, like the purpose, design, findings, and then right side you can add one line or two line and club all those things will become one paragraph. That is how also you can write the abstract. And then in order to write this structured abstract, these are the salient points, like the purpose or the need of this particular study, that is the reasons that why you want to study this particular paper, and then what exactly is the aim of your paper, objective, and I think that is missing here, but after purpose, objective also will be there. That means this is what I want to do it, that is the aim, which indicates the contribution. And then next will be your methodology, that how you have done that particular research work, and your findings or results. And if you want, you can write also the research limitations or implications if possible, and practical implications also you can write, and social implications and originality. That means it happened to be what exactly is your contribution. So you can remember only 4 things from those particular things and also write, like the purpose or need. The second one will be the objective. Third one will be your methodology. Fourth thing will be your results and discussion. So this is results and discussion is that what you have done and what you have presented, it is important. It's not that what results you got is important in abstract. So this is about a structured abstract. And coming for the graphical abstract, a graphical abstract is a single, concise, pictorial and visual summary of your work. It is just like a poster that we, before we go to the movie, we see many posters. Poster is one way of telling about the movie. So it shows like if the posters happen to be very good, we get attracted with that, and then we'll go for the movie. So similarly here also, if the graphical abstract is been visually represented, then obviously people also seeing this graphical abstract also, they go into a particular work, and then they are going to take that papers, and then they are going to give some citation. So this is how the graphical abstract will be useful to us. So in graphical abstract, represent what you did, how you did it, what you found, and what you have been concluded. These 4 things are all important in graphical abstract. That means what you did means what you have taken and then you have done. That means what exactly is your methodology, what exactly is your proposed things, and then how you did it means your way of methodology, how you have done that, and what you have found. That means what are the results that you have got, and what are your conclusions. So you can see here, this is one way of a graphical abstract, which shows like we are using some precursors, metal ions, linkers. That means using these items, I have started doing my work, and using this particular methods, like maybe synthetic routes, I using these precursors, I have developed these particular things. These are my results, and all my results will be useful for this particular applications. Like this structure will be useful basically for gas storage, this structure for this drug delivery catalyst. So this is how my output results will be useful to the practical applications that are being produced. I got these results by using this kind of a methodology, that how I have done that particular process by using this particular components. So this is what you can relate, like what you did it, I have taken these particular things, and how you did it by using this particular process, and then what did you found, what you found, that is by using these things, MOFs I have found, and then what you have concluded is that they will be useful for this particular application. So there are a number of graphical abstract that is available in the internet. You can take it as a model that how they are being represented, but it is only like a poster that you are representing your whole research work. Based upon those particular things, people will go into the work to see that how good work that you have done that. So that is how we have to keep in mind here. And next, coming for the introduction section. So what I mean to say here is, while writing the introduction section, already I have told like we have to make some survey, or we have to see some review papers, or we have to see some magazines which happen to be the latest things, and finally get some statistics like how our research work happen to be important. So that means this is what one of the example shows, like these are the observed failures of Indian gas and state substations, where in which this is a graph represents many things like loose particles. That means due to the low presence of loose particles, there is a failures of Indian GS system due to lightning. So this is a graph pie chart which shows like due to all this kind of an abnormalities, the failures have been taken place. But you can see that out of all this percentage, this material failures 30% happen to be the most severe thing that which have causes in our Indian GS system. So that is what we have to get sensitized. and see like the material failures happen to be decreased in GS. So for that, that means we should get motivated with this, and then we have to start our particular research work. So take your own time in order to write a paper or carrying out a research work, that how the present research that you are carrying out is being important. And this is also some other examples which shows like CERC report on 2012 blackout in India, which shows like the overloading of transmission line in India has made a blackout in India in 2012, in which 50% of the Indian population doesn't have any power. So it shows like 3 of the 5 electric grids have been failed. A total affected load because of blackout was 48,000 megawatts, and 17 million people in India were left without any power, and 28 states were hit by power cuts. 20 lives in hospitals were in danger. 265 miners were trapped in coal mines in West Bengal. So that means these are all the ill effects that have been taken place due to the blackout that has happened. So that means this happened to be a severe thing that has been taken place. So that is due to the congestion of the transmission line. So when carrying out a research work, if you are interested in congestion of transmission line, first you have to make a survey of these particular things and get witnessed and feel motivated that this is how I have to work upon to see that all these things. That means in case of a blackout, how to handle all those things and how we can be sustainable. So that is how we have to keep in mind and start writing the introduction section. So already we have seen that introduction section has got 4 paragraphs, like explain how your problem happened to be the worthy of study. And next thing here is a literature survey. Third one here is how you have given a solution for those problem that you have been created for yourself, and then how did you do that. So this is how the introduction section should be written carefully. So while writing introduction section also, we should also keep one thing in mind here is that, that means already we have been telling that this happened to be done. But if you can represent with the help of some recent happenings or case study, like in 2012 India, this has happened, and then you start doing your research work, it shows that your problem is more critical and it is in a need of study in the present days. Or maybe you can represent in the form of a case study, the output of the case study can be taken, and with that also you can start your particular research work. So this is how the introduction should be written carefully. And then the gap analysis, as I have discussed earlier, the gap analysis should be written very carefully in the introduction section. And then you can see here, this is what some samples that I have represented here, that how we should be writing about that. You can see here in 5, the mathematical model was built by Maxwell's stress tensor method, which simplified the process of derivation. So this is what he has done by number 5, and this is the work that he have done. But this is the gap that is been identified. Like, however, straight lines rather than circular lines were adopted in the integration path of fringing magnetic field, which suffer from the precision. So this is one of the drawback of those particular things. So in order to increase the control precision of BSRM, a neural network inversion system was proposed to decouple the radial force and torque of BSRM in 6. That means after 5th, the scientist who has been discovered this, or other scientist 6 has been discovered, taking this particular gap from number 5, 5th order. So as this gap is identified number 5, he has got number 6. As from 6, some gap is there, some 7 has been done that work. So while writing our gap analysis, we, as one author or multiple authors have done the work, but as they have not taken this particular thing or made some assumptions, or this is one of the problem with those particular work, taking into that account, someone would have been done the work. Or at present up till 2020, someone have done like this, taking that into account, and then we start our particular research. That is more important. So this is how the gap should be written very carefully by using, you can use many words like tag words like however, despite, because, many things you can use here, but identification of a gap is more important. How clear we are about what has happened in the past is more clear, and that is also relevant is also important. And then we are also quoting other people's work, and that happened to be the recent work, that is also been more important. If you quote the work that is in 2010, and we are making avoiding all the present work, it shows like the research work is not been transparent enough, and all the authors contribution has not been highlighted enough. So that's what we all have to keep in mind while writing the gap analysis, and while writing to the journal which has been relevant. take the literature from those particular things and then start also writing about those particular papers also, in which the authors which are been following that particular journal will also have the focus and will also understand that particular uh, journal or the paper. So that is what we all have to keep in mind while writing the introduction. Gap analysis is very, very more important. It is not that we write in literature about what others have done. You should also identify that this is how it is not been done. So this is how I'm creating a problem. So that is important in the introduction section, in which it is being missing in many articles. And coming for the literature survey, as I told already, what are the most recent major developments in your area should be indicated. Three most important papers that relate to your work is also important, and what published work is closest to yours is also being important. And what are the steps in the formulation of the study, problem of study, and problem of study is a perceived gap between what is and what should be. So this section should be written very carefully. That's the second paragraph in the introduction section should be written. So in order to do the literature survey in Scopus also, I will also give this particular way that how you can do that. So that is in Scopus, you can go for there, you can type scopus.com, and on the right hand side you can see a search. So you can click on that search, and then this is how the document search will be coming up. So here you can just give your own options or field of research or maybe topic of the paper, like that you can give. I have given just simply gas insulated. As you click on gas insulated, so this is how the results will be coming up. There are 7991 results have been coming up, and this is how the results have been coming. So you can see here the year at which it has been come. You can also select the options that happen to be available here. Date newest, that means the newest paper that is available in our particular topic is been coming up here. So this is how in a year-wise reverse chronological order it is been chronological order it is been giving up here. So you can see here what is the recent work that has been happening, and then you can sort here by the good quality journals, that is maybe in terms of citations. So that means in our area also, which journal has got more citations or which paper has got more citations can also have an options here. Based upon that also we can do some research work. So this is how the literature survey can be done by using these particular things. And left side also you have many options to be coming up, like access type, year, and many things are coming. Out of those things, if you just click on source title, this is how one window will be coming, which shows like in our particular area, like gas insulated, these are the journals which have been publishing that particular research work. As you can see that these are all nothing but the journals which have been producing that papers in that particular area. And then you can see here like each journal, how many articles is it also producing is important. You can see like the first one happened to be IEEE transactions on dielectrics and electrical insulation. You can see like 341 papers are produced in gas insulated systems. So next you can see IEEE transactions on power delivery, 261 articles. So you can see here different, you can see here how many articles that the journal, each journal is been producing there. And if you just, if I want to write a paper for the IEEE transactions and I want to see what is the latest research work that it has been happening, and then I can just click on this particular thing, and then I can just say like limit to, then I'm going to get all the publications like this here, and then only I am going to getting the source happen to be from IEEE transactions on electrical insulation and dielectrics and electrical insulation. So this is how only from that particular source at which you want to publish in an year wise, you can get all the statistics by using this particular Scopus. And then you can download those particular things. That means you can give many options here, like export text can be there. If you click on this and you select the article title, author names, and then all the citation information, the volume issue, and you can also you get the abstract. Once if you do that, you'll get a list of all the abstracts, which indicates that what the author have done, what they have proposed in that, and what results that they've got can also be seen at the first instance. So that is how you can do the such particular process, and then you can just only select what are the journals of your interest, which shows that your literature survey happen to be most easy, and choosing the right journal and also selecting the right literature relevant to the work that you happen to be doing that. So this is how a literature survey can be done in Scopus, and same thing that you can also do it in Web of Science. They will also going to give in this particular way what are the journals that are being there and what are the abstracts that are being there in the journals. in a chronological order or reverse chronological order, whatever the order that we want, that can be selected from the options that are being available. And now coming for the proposed methodology, we have to keep in mind here is why did you employ the methods that you have been used? We can use several methods and then we can do the work. But we should all clear in my write in the paper very clearly here is that why did you employ the methods that you have been used there? So why not the others? So that is how our method or our solution should be so good that that happen to be the most reliable solution, even in case of whatever the robustness that takes place for the system or the robustness of the system. So that is how we should design a method for those particular things. So for that also we should do a lot of analysis. From all our analysis, it shows like this happened to be the most good method. Then that method should be proposed. It is not that some method is there, some results we get it, some outputs we will get it. That is not important. So the clear scientific problem is to be identified and clear solution should be given. And why did you use this research methodology? What did you gain from it? And to what extent do your contribution generalize? What informed your choice of methods? What methods or procedures that you have followed? So I have given all these particular questions in research proposed methodology. So that means after writing introduction, you are going to write about the system that you are going to study then for that particular system. What is your problem? You are going to write it very clearly. For that problem, this is the proposed methodology you want to give it. This question should get followed up. So out of all these things, that means you may be writing some mathematical or analytical procedure to witness like this happened to be the clear way of representation. So in that particular way, one thing has been important here, that is generalization. That is what I told. Newton has given some told for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So similarly here also we have done some work how we are going to generalize those particular things. So after designing this particular control, this controller can be used to see that whatever may be your load, it is going to minimize those particular things. So that is how some generalized statement should be given up. So that is more important while writing your proposed methodology. So that means a research paper happen to be very short. You can't do analysis for all systems. So in order to do for all systems, we should try to see that some generalized system should be given. That means one, if it can be applied for first order or second order, it can be in your paper. You can we can also apply for 10th order, 15th order. So like that also we can. That is how the generalization should be written very carefully. Whatever may be the given system, they should be can be carried out. So that is how it is more important in proposed methodology that we have to give it. And coming for the results and discussion, many ways at which we can do that. That means a presentation of the result section. But what I mean to say here is that, okay, so this slides that you can read, but what typically I mean to say here is we are getting figures and maybe plots or this tabular forms, but physical significance of various parameters. We say that a parameter is getting varied like this from this particular value to other value. That may be due to some scientific merit, that may be through some mathematical equation or physical process that it is happening here. And finally, we have been getting like this. But we should clearly indicate what exactly how that shape is coming, why that variations are coming should be written very carefully here. It is not like increase, decrease, such kind of a thing. So that is what I mean to say here is that the results section should be written very carefully, and these questions should be kept in mind. Like, why did you analyze it in this way? Could it have been done in another way? Should be kept in mind. That means it is not that we all approach only deterministic approach. There are also methods like probabilistic methods. There are also heuristic methods. So like that, many methods are available. But why we have done an analysis? That means methods are different, analysis is different. Analysis also one will do in one way, another will do in another way. So similarly here, one will go for a prediction analysis. One will go that depending upon formula, what is being correct. So that is what we have to keep in mind here is how we are being doing analysis is also been more important. So for problems encountered in this process should also be written here. It's not that always we are going to get only optimistic results, but in this particular process, that means if you go in this particular way, that means suppose if your population is like this, if your trial runs is like this, if you do the simulation only 2 times, you're going to get only this is the result. But if you do multiple process and you see the average success, then it shows like this is how the result. So that is how the problems that have been encountered should also be written clearly here. And now how our findings are being correct, they should be validated from our published work is more important. So generalization is important in research paper, and comparison with the published work is also being more important. So every result, that means if you are starting with a new research or with a new area in which there is no thing, then you can solve many examples with that. But already you have done an extension to the existing things, then it shows like you should be comparing with the things. Next, which of these results findings are more interesting to you also can also be presented in that particular way, that this happened to be the most good result, which happened to be the useful to the community. That is also being more important. So now coming for the conclusion section, the difference between results and conclusion section here is results and discussion is more specific and conclusion section is general. So what are the conclusions of your work? How innovative or valuable are they? How does your work tell us that we did not know before? To what extent do your contribution generalize? Who will be most interested in your particular work, and which aspects of your work could be taken further, and how it happened to be taken? So this is how a conclusion section should be written, and they should also be written like if it is only simulation studies, we should also write in a practical way that how it can be also implemented and how practically they are being useful to them. So acknowledgements, you can thank the people who have been supported you in doing this research work, that you can do it in the acknowledgement section. And there are many ways at which you can give the reference section, and sources are also being available in the style that you want. It may be in a Chicago style that if you want, you can just put it in that particular way. So like that, different styles are being available in a research paper for writing the references in a research paper. And finally, what I mean to say here is, after you write all your article, this is how you have to do it. Like self-revise your paper multiple times. Enhance, that means you take a printout and then you revise that. That's more important also. Enhance the logical flow of your arguments, which shows like not only line to line, it also shows to para there is a continuity or not. You have to also think about the reader who, if your paper is published, the reader should be able to understand it. And shorten long sentence to clarify them. Almost write only a small sentences and see that connectivity is being presented. And perform spelling checks. Many tools are been available these days. Maybe using Grammarly also you can use that spelling checks. And revision by a native English speaker. If you want, you can do that. Check the word count. That means many journals sometimes ask like the abstract happen to be only 200, 150, 100 like that. That also we have to keep in mind. And also we have to see like some journals who only account for the articles which has got only 5 pages or 6 pages, and also word counts like 5,000 like that. So that also we have to keep in mind, and read your article many times before you submit, like it is not yours. That means you have to read like a layman and pose your questions, and then see that whether the connectivity is being kept or not. And try to avoid flaws, especially in the literature survey. Be the most critical reviewer of yourself. That means for that also, what I mean to say here is, after you write all your paper, your paper, you see that all these questions, 20 questions that which I have given right now, are being present in your research paper or not. These are the questions that all the much of the reviewers will be using that, and these are the problems these days in writing the very good scientific articles are being experienced. But after you write your paper, if you read each question and see that the answer is there in your research paper, definitely it leads to a very good research paper. So coming for the questions, what motivated and inspired you to carry out this research should be written in the introduction section, and also in the first line of your abstract. How did your research questions emerge? That's what in the introduction section you have to write. What are the main issues and debates in the subject area? What are the most recent major developments in our area? What is the problem you have tackled is been worth tackling? And what were the crucial research decisions that you have made? And why did you use this research methodology? What did you gain from it? What would you have gained by using another approach? And how have you evaluated your work? And how did you know that your research findings have been correct? And how it has been improved your particular work? And to how your contributions is going to get generalized? And how your work is been relevant to the researchers and practices? And what aspects of your work did you intend to publish and where? And which of your findings are the most interesting to you? So these are the questions that you are being there, in which all these questions can be taken, and then they can be seen in the research paper, and then finally you can see whether all those answers are being present or not. So the reviewers also normally check the following points. That means these are all some of the questionnaires also been given, and much uses only these questions, like is the subject matter appropriate for publication in the journal to which it has been submitted? Is this work scientifically and technically sound? Is the work sufficiently unique? Is the paper well written and organized? Is the title appropriately chosen? And is the abstract a good summary of your paper? So these are the things that also review. Much of the things they will be in a questionnaire form that you will be asked. So taking these questions into mind and then writing the answers is more important. So this is how we have seen today, like we should be thinking what exactly is a good journal, and then instead of identifying a predatory journal and going about that and making those particular things which are not been useful and which have been retraced and which doesn't make an accountability in future, is the first step that we have taken. And now we have seen what are the sources that are available for good journals and how to identify them, and we have also seen how to write how to write a paper for those particular good journals. That means what are the important points that they are being seeing in those particular good journals that we have seen in the form of a questionnaire at the last two slides. So this is how my topic of presentation, and I hope all the participants, this presentation will be useful to you. And then much of the things you can also do with literature survey and many other things, selecting a journals using different things. So this will be, I think that this presentation will be useful in one or two points also at least. And then you do a very good research work and go forward for the progress of the country. So I once again thank the chairman, Dr. Ratnakar Garu, principal CH Nagprasad Garu, and coordinator Dr. K. Sujata Madam for giving me this opportunity. And if you have any questions, you can write to me on this email, drgvnk14@gmail.com. I will be ready to ready to answer all the questions that you are going to ask them. So I thank one and all.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the valuable session. Okay, we thank Dr.G.V.Nagesh Kumar Garu, Professor, Head of the Department, ATU College of Engineering, Pulivendula, for accepting this invitation and being speaker for the valuable session. We thank our dynamic chairman, sir, Shri Dari Ratnakar Garu, for his initiation and support to conduct these webinars. We thank our principal, vice principal, HODs of all departments for guiding and encouraging us in all the aspects. Finally, last but not least, we thank all the participants for attending the session.